Number one, don't go broke trying to impress other people. I promise you, some of the brokest people be the most flashiest, and you will think they have it when they really don't. There's a lot of people, especially in the social media age, where they are trying to look a certain way and they will do anything and spend anything in order to keep up that image, knowing in reality that's not matching. Number two is to never get revenge or to never fight fire with fire. The best revenge is to leave people where they had you messed up at. Don't try to stoop down to their level and even give them the satisfaction of you stepping out of your position to meet them at their low position. Allow them to suffer and let their conscience eat at them for doing you wrong. Number three is to use social media as your cheat code. A lot of people really don't think this way, but this is probably one of the most valuable things that I'm going to tell you. Use social media as your cheat code to life. We are no longer in a time where your immediate environment is all you have access to. You have access to so many people, so many different realities that you could live, and you'll understand that you don't have to live the life that you feel is forced onto you or that you feel like you have to do because everyone else around you is used to doing it. Don't just be on social media and scroll to waste time. Use social media as your literal blueprint for how you want to live your life. Use it as inspiration. And I just want to be very clear. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. And what I mean by that is once you envision the actual life that you feel is best suited for you, take the information that works for you and everything else that does not align with that end goal that you are wanting, leave it aside and don't even give it any of your energy. Number four is they were not lying when they say the older you get, the more you will lose out on the friends that you thought would be there. The more that you evolve as a person, the more you'll start to notice that you and friends that you thought would be friends forever, if you guys don't have a strong, genuine, solid bond, it is very likely that you guys are going to drift apart and go your own separate ways. And there doesn't have to be any bad feelings towards it. It just sometimes happens naturally. It's not to say that if you saw the person you wouldn't say hi. Personally, I'm not close friends with anybody that I was once close with. Are we like social media friends and acquaintances? Yeah, but to say we're gonna pick up the phone and just talk and all of that, not really. Number five is if you have a bad feeling about something, someone, or someplace, trust your gut. That is your intuition speaking to you. Don't just block it out. Pay attention to it and really analyze how you want to go about the situation, because if you ignore it, you'll most likely regret it. Number five is you'll realize that the people who were seen as weird and socially awkward in their younger days, those tend to be the most interesting people when they get older, because they are authentically themselves and they do things that don't fit the mold of society. And a lot of times the things that they do, and I'll even speak for myself, like the things that we are interested in doing, they're actually really interesting things, but because it's not common, because it's not the norm that people are doing, people tend to write it off as just weird or like you're an outcast. But it's like, listen, the outcasts be the most interesting people, and don't say I didn't tell you. Number seven, I don't care what your relationship is to a person and how long you've known them. If a person is showing you weird behavior and they're bad for your mental and emotional health, you need to remove them from your life. And if you can't remove them from your life, then just keep distance from them, because at the end of the day, you would be surprised how people's energy and the weird energy that they give off to you, how that will affect you even if you know it or not. And in my opinion, I feel like a lot of times, like, we develop this people pleaser mindset where we feel like just because you have a certain relationship with a person that you have to keep tolerating things from them. Like, no, if a person is showing you weird behavior, you need to distance yourself from them, because at the end of the day, you don't have to stay in a relationship that is harmful to you. Whether, like I said, it's mentally or emotionally, you should be around people who are uplifting to you, who are positive. Number eight, and this one is so important, do not spend your youth self-sabotaging. A lot of times when people give advice to like the younger people, whether you're in your late teens or whether you're in your 20s, a lot of times people have this idea as this is your time to just mess around in life and do whatever you want. And I understand where they're coming from when they say like experience life, but I feel like a lot of people also have this idea of let me do the craziest things, because in their mind this is going to get scratched from my record. Like, no. Just because you're young doesn't mean you have to sleep around with everybody in order to gain experience. It doesn't mean you need to drink yourself to the hospital. It doesn't mean you need to try out every possible drug out here. It doesn't mean that you need to be so irresponsible with your life because you feel like, oh, well, this is the time to do that. Listen, I've always been the person, I've never really been a party person. I've never really been the girl to just be out and about. I've always just kind of been to myself because I just always felt conflicted with the whole message of, oh, you're young, so live your life. I was able to live my life in a way where I want to be able to look back and not regret any decisions that I made. So if that meant skipping out on certain things that I just genuinely felt like I didn't want to do, then I didn't do it. So don't feel pressured to live a life that you see so many people living because you feel like, oh, well, if everyone else is doing this, then I have to do it too. Because the reality is there's a lot of people who look back on their life and their regrets that they have. And a lot of people are not going to be open about that. So just really be mindful about the things that you are partaking in. Just because you are young doesn't mean live a wild life. Of course, that means you have more room to just explore life because you may not have as much responsibilities as in, like, you know, an adult that's older, but you should still be responsible and hold yourself to some standard. Don't just be out here wilding. Number 9, slavery has never ended. They just got a lot more strategic and devious with it. We are literally slaves in this system within America. We have to pay bills. Everything needs to be on contract. We got to pay taxes. Y'all cannot tell me that's not slavery. All they did was, because they knew that they were holding people against their will, they just created a system where it seems as though you have free will, which we do, but the reality is we're still within a system where they are taking advantage of us. Number 10 is to see people for exactly who they show you to be. Don't try to make excuses. Don't overcomplicate things. When a person shows you their character in a negative way, take that for what it is, and you have to make the decision that, okay, this type of energy that a person displays, I don't want that in my life. So say, for example, if a person shows you that they're ungrateful, they're ungrateful. If a person shows you that they're disrespectful, they are disrespectful. If a person shows you that you cannot trust them, you cannot trust them. Don't try to alter your mind to try to make the situation out to be something it's not, because in the end you are only hurting yourself. You are setting yourself up to potentially be in a situation that you know you could have avoided based off of the information that you had, but you chose to ignore. Number 11 is nobody who is happy with themselves is going to be tearing down another person. People who are genuinely happy oftentimes tend to be people who are uplifting and who want to spread that positivity. I've noticed that people who are miserable in their lives are usually the ones who are trying to tear people down, make people feel bad about themselves, or just even kill people's dreams. And the reality is that's the energy that they feel about themselves, so that's the energy that they project onto people, because at the end of the day, misery loves company. Number 12 is there are benefits to putting effort into your appearance. For one, you should be putting effort into the way that you look out of self-love and self-respect enough to show up for yourself and take care of yourself. That's first and foremost. When you look good, you feel good. So that's just an automatic confidence booster right there in order to help you show up in a way where, you know, you feel confident. But also another reason outside of yourself is people treat you better when you look good. And unfortunately, this is something that I used to fight with, because it's just like, why is the world so shallow? Why do people have to be this way? Like, it shouldn't be that way. But listen, as much as you may want to rebel, we just sometimes have to play the game to get the best results, because there are just unwritten rules that honestly you can't go up against. And that doesn't mean to go chop yourself up or to go like do some crazy stuff to change your appearance, but just take the initiative to enhance your natural beauty or your natural handsomeness for whoever is watching. Just take care of yourself to where you look presentable and you look like you actually put effort in. So, you know, keep up with your hair, make sure your attire is clean. I'm not saying you need to be in designer and all of that, but just make sure that you are presenting yourself in a way where, you know, you have self-respect and you have self-love. Number 13 is do not rush into a relationship and do not tie your value to whether you're in a relationship or not. You would be surprised how many people in this world are in relationships with people who they have no business being in a relationship with. Number 13, we live in a matrix, and honestly, a lot of what you think is real is not really real. And I'm going to do a more in-depth video on this topic, but to start off, if you have never watched the movie The Matrix, please go watch it, and I promise you that's a great start to opening up your mind to the world that we live in. Number 14, society and social media has blurred the lines tremendously between genuine relationships and sex work. A lot of people are taking advice from the sprinkle life, and don't get me wrong, again, eat the meat and spit out the bones, because some of these people are providing valuable information. But the problem is when you're looking for a genuine relationship, but you're also trying to manipulate and try to finesse people out of money. Do not get bamboozled playing a game that you do not understand the consequences of. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. You are never late and you are never behind. Anything that is meant for you in this life, I promise you, you will have it, because at the end of the day, God is the one who's in control of whether you are going to get what you want or whether you don't get what you want. A lot of times there are just delays before you receive your blessing, because there are things that you may still need to learn, or there are people that you need to not have in your life in order for you to receive the blessing. But one thing about it, when something is meant for you, I promise you it will never miss you and it will always come back around. Number 18, when people say nice guys finish last, that is a real thing, but not for the way that people try to make it seem like. Don't be a mean person, don't be a terrible person, but what they're saying is don't be a pushover, don't be a people pleaser, because people don't respect that. A lot of times people respect confidence and people who respect themselves. At the end of the day, you teach people how to treat you, so don't just show up in a way where you're letting people walk all over you, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to respect that. But still, be a kind person, because people like kind people. Just don't be a nice people pleaser. Number 19 is true confidence comes from self-respect and self-love. A lot of people feel like they need to wear their confidence or they need to look their confidence. So if they don't have their self presenting a certain way, then they're not confident, which does play a role in confidence. But true, genuine confidence that is unshakable is when you know yourself and you're confident in the person that you are internally. Nobody can take that from you. You get what I'm trying to say? So when you know that you're a good person, when you know that you're a trustworthy person, when you know that you have a lot of valuable characteristics, that makes you feel even more confident when you realize that a lot of people in this world are not like that. And if you haven't realized, some people could be the most beautiful in this world and still be the most insecure, but that's because they need to do the internal work to really understand their value as a person, and not just because of what they have and the material possessions. Because at the end of the day, you could lose all of that, but does that mean you change the person that you see yourself as, that you value yourself as? It shouldn't be that way. You should value yourself as a completely naked person that has no possession, because that's what makes you valuable. You as a person by yourself, standing by yourself, is what makes you valuable. Number 20 is the continuation of the last one, but the sooner you heal, the sooner I feel like you can live a more genuine life that's authentic to yourself. And I feel like that's what helped me find my confidence, because I worked through my traumas. I was able to really see myself and break myself down to my core in order to really understand my value as a person. And the reason why I say that is because everyone goes through traumas within life. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. Say you're standing in front of a window and you're trying to look outside. And let's say your traumas are all the dirt that's on that window. When you're trying to look outside of that window, you are looking at life. The window is your life perspective and outside is life. So if your window is super foggy and is super dirty, that represents your trauma. Until you clear all that gunk from the window, you will never get to see life from a clear perspective, because your mind is being clouded by your traumas. So that's why I say I feel like it's best to work through your traumas, because you'll then know how to attract better relationships. You'll know how to avoid things that you may be accustomed to based off of your trauma. And you'll also not look at life from a jaded perspective, and you'll have a more just open mind to things without being triggered or without being affected by your trauma. I feel like the more that I work through just my childhood trauma, whether it's attachment issues or whether it's self-esteem issues or whether it's me building my confidence and working through my fears and all of that, I am now able to show up in a way that I've never been able to show up before. I was able to recognize what my younger self needed, but also able to recognize just through my life experiences, the things that I may have experienced that I processed a particular way that I shouldn't have processed that way. I had to work through negative ideas that I've had on specific situations or just specific circumstances and rewire my brain to see things in a different perspective that would actually help me navigate in life better. Number 21 is to treat friendships how you treat relationships. I'm going to speak from a healthy perspective because I know not a lot of people handle relationships in a positive way or in the right way. If you are in a relationship, you should have the mindset of, if this relationship is not working out for me, if it's not beneficial for my well-being or just my growth as a person, then it's not a relationship that I should be in. That's the same way that you should look at a friendship. At the end of the day, relationships are between two people. When it comes to friendships, I feel like a lot of times we tend to pass off a lot more excuses for friends because it's like, oh, well, that's just my friend. But I'm going to treat you the same way that I treat a relationship. I deserve respect and I need to trust you and I need to see you as a good person. So if you don't have those character traits, among other things, because I'm not just trying to paint it black and white, but I'm just trying to give, like a general example. Treat relationships in general how you treat people. Don't have certain standards for one type of person and then have a different set of standards for another type of person. As a person who respects themselves and as a person who is confident, you should have the same standard for everyone. You want everyone to show up a particular way in your life. And just because a person is of a different type of relationship doesn't mean that you excuse that person of showing you behavior that you wouldn't want. So that's what I mean when I say treat your friendships how you treat your relationships. If you feel like a friendship is no longer just working out for you in your life, it's okay to have that conversation and break up that friendship. I feel like a lot of times we feel like friendships, you gotta ride out. And don't get me wrong, if you're a solid person, I'm gonna ride out with you. But if you're a negative person, I'm gonna have to cut the relationship short and we're gonna have to go our own separate ways. And I'm not gonna feel bad about that because at the end of the day, I deserve to be in good relationships. It doesn't matter what type of relationship it is, but that's just the standard that I've set for myself because I want to experience people in the best way possible. Number 22 is comparison is the thief of joy. I feel like we've all heard this before, so I'm not really going to elaborate on it too much. Don't compare yourself to other people because you don't know what people have to go through in order to get the things that they get. And a lot of times, it may be things that you don't want to deal with, or people may have worked really hard to get the things that they gotten, or people may also have different advantages that you may not have. So don't compare yourself to people and their journey. We're all different. We all have things that are meant for us, and you should never look at yourself and feel any less than because you are not keeping up with what another person has going on. Number 23 is financial literacy is so important. Just because you are young does not mean be irresponsible. Try to be as responsible as you can be with the money that you have so that when you do have money, you don't blow it. You know how to manage it. And a lot of us may not have been taught how to properly manage money, but the great thing is we have social media, we have plenty of resources, so please take advantage of them while you can because it's free and it's online. So, educate yourself as much as possible so that you're not in regret later on in life. Number 24 is your reputation will be the most valuable thing that you should hold on to. Operate out of integrity. People will always remember you for how you treat them, so be mindful how you treat people. Treat people how you want to be treated. And last but not least, make sure that you are living a life that you will be proud of, and make sure you are living your life for you and not for what other people have expectations of you, because at the end of the day, your life is your life. You don't have to follow what someone else wants for you because a lot of times people will project what they want for you